Hello. I just want to share some thoughts on family. Um, this past week, I attended two separate memorial services for family members that were very dear to me. Wednesday was the memorial service for my precious Aunt Ginger. I only had her in my life for not even 4 years. I found her through Ancestry, and she is the one who um, helped me uh, find out who my biological father was. Her two sons gave the most beautiful tributes. A couple of other people. It was very clear that despite um, Aunt Ginger's humble beginnings, um, she rose from the ashes, became the person that she was up until her death. She was very well loved and highly regarded by everyone around her. Um, there's a big hole in my heart because I loved her and I felt a connection with her. We had so much in common as far as our upbringing and our background. And then today I attended a memorial service for a cousin. Um, she's going to be terribly missed. And I've only allowed myself to get close to her within the last couple of years because I had walls up with certain people in the family. I was related to Linda through my mother's husband. So, I was adopted by my mother's husband. So she was my cousin through adoption. Um, but she had one of the most beautiful smiles on the earth. She was very well loved by everyone around her. Um, two of her kids gave the just most incredible tributes, very touching, and even heart wrenching. Some of the stories that they shared about her. And I really wish that I would have allowed myself to get to know her, or allowed her to get to know me earlier. But I just grew up with so much fear of certain people in my family, feeling like I was judged, because I wasn't really their family. I was constantly reminded by my mother's husband that I wasn't his. So that, made me feel out of place, like an imposter, actually. But after allowed Linda to get to know me and I got to know her, I realized that she would have loved me no matter what. And she actually knew what I had gone through as a child. I didn't even have to tell her. She told me. She knew I was being abused. But, she was young too. What could she have done? Her mother was the oldest of the siblings of my mother's husband. Uh, so my mother's husband and her mother were siblings, and her mother was the oldest of six. And she had some dealings with her mother too, not nearly as severe as what I dealt with, but um, I just, listening to these tributes just really made me a little sad what I missed out on. Um, she was incredibly close to her children, and I wish I had that. I had boundaries with my mother from probably my teen years, because of some of her behavior toward me and the fact that she did not protect me from her husband or her son. Um, and she knew what her son was doing to me. And as far as protecting me from her husband, she probably felt like she couldn't because, he's the head of the house. But with her son, she always made an excuse for his behavior. And that's why he's such a loser still today. I might go further into that later. But I have, in the last couple of years, I have surrounded myself with people who seem to really care about me, who unconditionally love me, who respect me. And I've also learned how to be more bold and speak up towards people. I mean, there are people that that don't talk to me anymore, probably because I finally said enough that they didn't like hearing what I said, but I spoke truth. But I'm finally at a place of peace with my mother no longer in my life. I mean, we were never close, but I would have done anything for her. In fact, I sacrificed time with my family and my business for 2 years before her husband did what he did when I had to stand up to him for abusing me again. I mean, I loved her enough to do that, but it is what it is. But anyway, appreciate the family that you have that really, truly love you. And for those who don't treat you well, it's okay to step away. I wish I would have done that the moment I moved out of the parental home. That was one of the biggest regrets I've ever had. The main reasons I didn't do that is because I didn't want, number one, I was afraid I'd be judged by cousins. The other was I didn't want to lose contact with my grandmother or my niece and nephew, the two that I knew at the time, because they were the world to me. But I still could have gotten in contact with them. But, I was young when I first moved out. Well, not as young as I wanted to be when I moved out, but I just didn't know how to be an adult yet because I wasn't taught how to how to prepare for adulthood. In fact, my mother and her husband actually stunted my maturity and emotional growth because I think they had it in their mind, or at least my mother's husband had it in his mind, that I would be living with them till I at least got married, which at that time I had no plans of ever getting married or ever having children. Because of the example I saw at home, I was like, if that's what marriage is, hell no, I don't want that. But he still abused me even to the day I moved out. In fact, I'll give you an example of his narcissism. When I finally saved up enough money to move out, and I had two friends actually, they were getting an apartment. They asked me if I wanted to be a roommate. They got a 3-bedroom apartment. I was like, yeah, I had to take a leap of faith, even though I didn't think I could afford it. So I told Mother and her husband that I was moving out. And at this point, I was actually 21, I think. 20 or 21. I couldn't get out of there soon enough. But my mother's husband didn't seem happy about it. I think my mother was happy. But so the day came for us to move into the apartment, and I didn't have any way of moving any of my stuff. And so I just figured I'll just have to take my clothes, whatever could fit in my little car, and figure out how to get my bed over there somehow, because my mother's husband wasn't going to help me. In fact, a friend of mine's husband helped me. He drove one way, had to be about 25 miles from his home to, it was a friend's husband um, that I knew from church at that time. And so he drove out to my mother's home. He had a truck, and he packed I mean, it was pretty quick. We dismantled my bed, got my dresser and bed on and mattress onto his truck, and I had a bunch of my clothes and toiletries and everything else I needed in the car. And then from there, it was probably about a good 30 miles from my mother's home to my apartment. He helped me get my stuff upstairs and get everything into my bedroom. And then he went home, and that had to be at least another 15, 20 miles for him. And he did that out of the goodness of his heart. But while he was helping me move my stuff, and his daughter was with him too. She was young at the time. Marvin sat there in front of the TV, didn't say a word, didn't even offer to help. But that's how he was. He seemed unhappy that I was moving out. So because I guess he was no longer going to have me to abuse. Anyway, that's just one example. So anyway, just really appreciate the family you have. I'm really thankful for that I did get married and have my kids. I have two wonderful children. They mean the world to me. And the cousins that I have, the cousins that I've met in the last couple years through Ancestry, my Aunt Ginger's sons and their families have been wonderful. And my cousins on my mother's side too. And I have an aunt, my mother's half-sister. They've all been very supportive of what I've had to deal with the last couple of years and have loved me and rallied around me, and I am so appreciative of them, and I'll never be able to thank them enough. But anyway, I just wanted to share that so that those of you who are dealing with narcissistic parents and past abuse, you're not alone. Parental estrangement, you're not alone. But the family that, even non-biological family, that rally around you and support you and love you, really, really appreciate them. And yeah, so that's it.